We want to solve equation 2x squared minus 1 equals 17 by using square roots. So the first thing we want to do is move the negative 1 to the other side, because to use square roots we need to isolate the x to be by itself. Actually isolate the x squared, and then we apply the square root method. So let's add 1 to both sides. So we get 2x squared equals negative 16. Okay, so now we're going to divide both sides by 2. So we get x squared equals negative 8. So now that we have x squared on the one side, we want to get rid of the squared because we are solving for x. So we apply square roots to both sides. So we're going to get x on the left, and on the right, square root of negative 8. But remember to put a plus or minus whenever you take a square root of a square. Now, we have a negative under the square root, which is not really a problem. It's not a real answer, but we have a complex answer, an imaginary answer. Remember, square root of negative 1 is equal to I. We can split this up into square root of 8 times square root of negative 1. Now, the square root of negative 1 is I. And we still need to simplify the square root of 8. Now, we need to look for a perfect square factor, which in this case is 4. So we take square root of 4, which is 2. Now, when we factored out that 4, what was left over was 2. So our answer is plus or minus 2i square root of 2. Okay, in number 12, we have 2x cubed plus 1 equals negative 53. Okay, again, we use a square root method, or some kind of root method. In this case, it's a cube, so we are going to use the cube root. So again, we subtract 1 from both sides. So we get 2x cubed equals negative 54. Divide both sides by 2. So we get negative 27. And so now we want to get rid of that cube. So we apply the cube root to both sides. So cube root of negative 27. This time a negative under the root is not a problem because we can have negatives under a cube root. So the answer to this is negative 3, because negative 3 cubed gives us 27. So the cube root of negative 27 is negative 3. Okay, so the next problem, we have a cube root. We want to try to get rid of it. So what we need to do is cube both sides. So we're going to get x plus 40 equals 5 cubed. So 5 cubed is 125. And the last step is to just subtract 40 from both sides. Now number 15, a similar problem to number 12. But we have a fractional exponent, so let's see what we need to do. So the first thing we need to do is subtract 15 from both sides. We have x to the 2/3 equals 9. Now what we want to do is raise both sides to an exponent that's the reciprocal of that fraction. So we are going to take x to the 2/3. We raise that to 3/2. And do the same thing on the other side, 3/2. Now, 2/3 times 3/2, these two guys cancel out. So on the left, we just have x, and that was the reason we did that. On the right, we can change the fractional exponent to a root. So over 2 means that we have a square root of 9, and then that's cubed. So just to make it easy on ourselves, we're going to apply the square root first, and then we're going to cube it. So square root of 9 is 3, and we still have to cube it, so 3 cubed is 27.